There is a beautiful saying: experience is a hard teacher because she gives the test first, the lesson later. And by the time a person reaches 65, life has already tested them in many ways: relationships, friendships, business, family expectations, betrayals, sacrifices, love, and sometimes even silence when they expected support. So at this age, something changes inside the human heart. Not always loudly, but quietly. A certain softness turns into caution. A certain openness turns into observation. And sometimes a certain trust turns into hesitation. And that's where a dangerous misunderstanding can arise. Some people begin to believe, I should trust no one, not even my family, only myself. But let's pause here. Because while self reliance is strength, isolation is not wisdom. There comes a stage in life after 65 when a person slowly begins to realize something very quiet but very powerful. Not everything and not everyone can be leaned on forever. This realization is not bitter at first, it is practical. It begins with small experiences, for forgetting who was supposed to call back, waiting for someone who is late again, or realizing that decisions about your own life are now being made by others for your convenience. And in that space, two possible attitudes are born. One is strength, the other is fear. Self reliance grows when a person says, I have lived enough life to know I can handle my own emotions, my own choices, my own peace. This is not arrogance, this is maturity. It is the calm understanding that while support is beautiful, dependence is dangerous when it becomes the only pillar holding your emotional world. But sometimes this strength gets distorted. It becomes suspicion. A person begins to say, I will not rely on anyone. I will not open up. I will not expect anything from anyone. And slowly, what started as empowerment becomes isolation dressed as protection. Self reliance is not about cutting people off. It is about standing steady even when people are not available. It is the ability to say, even if no one understands me today, I will still understand myself. Think of a mountain. It does not ask the wind to support it. It does not collapse when the rain is too heavy. But at the same time, it does not refuse the rain or push away the clouds. It simply stands strong, grounded, accepting what comes and still remaining itself. That is the essence of self reliance after 65. You still appreciate love. You still value family. You still enjoy conversations and companionship. But you no longer hand over your entire emotional stability to their availability or approval. Because experience teaches something very simple. People will come and go, situations will change, attention will shift, but your ability to hold yourself steady must remain. And that is not loneliness. That is inner independence. When self reliance is healthy, a person becomes softer, not harder. They stop demanding emotional perfection from others. They stop reacting sharply to inconsistency. They begin to understand that everyone is carrying their own burdens. But when self reliance turns into suspicion, the heart closes. Every delay feels like disrespect. Every silence feels like rejection. Every distance feels like betrayal. So the real wisdom is this: become so strong within yourself that you don't need people to be perfect, but remain so open that you still allow people to be imperfect. That is self reliance with wisdom, not fear. One of the most painful lessons life teaches after 65 is this: access is not the same as affection. Just because someone is close to you does not mean they fully understand you. Just because someone shares your blood does not mean they automatically carry your emotional safety. And just because someone speaks kindly does not mean they have clarity of intention. Earlier in life, trust is often given freely. There is openness, generosity, and sometimes even innocence in emotional sharing. But with time, life refines this openness into discernment. Not everyone deserves full access to your inner world. And this is not cynicism, it is emotional maturity. Think of your heart like a home. Not every visitor needs a master key. Some people can sit in the living room, some can enter the garden. A very few deserve to enter every room. And only one or two, if at all, understand the deepest corners where your fears and memories live. The mistake many people make after 65 is either giving everyone full access or giving no one access at all. Both extremes create suffering. Full access without discernment leads to disappointment. Because when expectations are placed on people who were never emotionally capable of holding them, hurt becomes inevitable. And complete withdrawal leads to emotional starvation. Because the heart, even in old age, still needs connection to feel alive. So, what is the balanced way? It is gradual trust. It is observing consistency over time, not just words in a moment. It is noticing behavior when things are easy and when things are difficult. It is understanding who respects your silence and who only values your availability. Access should be earned through reliability, not demanded through relationship labels. Even within families, emotional closeness varies. Some children may be more expressive, others more distant. Some relationships may feel warm, others formal. But instead of forcing equal emotional depth everywhere, wisdom lies in accepting different levels of access. Not everyone will understand your emotional world deeply, and that is okay. But not everyone needs to. What matters is that you protect your inner peace by being selective, not suspicious. There is a subtle difference between saying, I trust no one, and saying, I trust people according to their consistency and character. One closes the heart, the other protects it. And after 65, protection of the heart is not about building walls, it is about building gates with awareness. There is a quiet grief many people carry after 65, and it is rarely spoken aloud. It is not about illness or money, it is about expectations. Expectations from family. The expectation that children will always have time. The expectation that conversations will be long and frequent. The expectation that presence will always feel emotionally satisfying. And when reality does not fully match these expectations, disappointment enters silently. But wisdom begins when we understand this truth. Family is not a perfect system, it is a living, evolving relationship. Children grow into their own lives. They build responsibilities, careers, homes, and emotional worlds of their own. Their silence is not always neglect, sometimes it is simply overload. Their distance is not always rejection, sometimes it is distraction from survival. But the aging heart interprets absence more personally than it actually is. That is where misunderstanding grows. At 65 and beyond, one of the most important emotional shifts is learning to differentiate between lack of love and lack of expression. Love may still exist even when expression becomes inconsistent. This does not mean accepting neglect or disrespect. It means avoiding emotional overinterpretation of every gap in communication. Family at its core is still meaningful because it is shared history, shared memories, shared identity. Even when conversations become less frequent, the emotional thread does not completely disappear. But here is the deeper wisdom. The healthiest emotional posture is not they must give me everything I expect, but rather I will value what is given, without making myself dependent on what is missing. This shift transforms suffering into acceptance. It allows a person to enjoy a short call instead of resenting a missed one. It allows gratitude instead of comparison. It allows emotional stability instead of emotional dependency. And perhaps most importantly, it allows love to remain alive without conditions. Because conditional love says, if you give me time, I will feel loved. But mature love says, even if time is less, I still value the bond. This does not mean lowering self respect, it means elevating emotional understanding. Family will never be perfect, but imperfection does not cancel meaning. In fact, it is within imperfection that real emotional depth often exists. When people think about emotional pain in old age, they often imagine betrayal as the biggest threat. Someone breaking trust, someone not fulfilling expectations, someone leaving. But in reality, the deeper and quieter danger is something far more invisible: isolation. Betrayal hurts sharply, but it has direction. It is an event, a moment, a memory that can be processed over time. Isolation, however, is slow. It does not announce itself. It grows quietly in empty hours, unanswered thoughts, and conversations that never happen. It begins with small decisions: I will not call today, die, will not expect anyone, die, will manage. Alone. And slowly, these decisions turn into habits. Habits turn into emotional distance. And emotional distance turns into silence. At first, silence feels peaceful, but over time, it becomes heavy. Human beings are not designed for complete emotional isolation. Even the most introverted soul needs some form of reflection, connection, or shared presence. Without it, thoughts begin to echo instead of flow. Memories begin to loop instead of settle. And the heart, instead of healing, starts to shrink inward. This is why isolation is more dangerous than betrayal. Betrayal at least confirms that connection existed. Isolation slowly erases the experience of connection altogether. After 65, life does not demand large social circles. It does not demand constant interaction. But it does require emotional touchpoint, someone to talk to, someone to share with, someone who acknowledges existence. Without that, even basic days can feel emotionally flat. The solution is not overdependence. It is not clinging. It is not expecting too much from others. The solution is intentional connection, a phone call, a short visit, a shared memory, a conversation that does not need to be deep but simply present, because presence matters more than perfection. Even one meaningful connection can prevent emotional isolation from becoming identity. And the irony of life is this: the more we protect ourselves from potential emotional pain by isolating, the more we increase the deeper pain of loneliness. So the real wisdom is not avoid people, it is stay connected wisely. If life after 65 can be summarized into one emotional philosophy, it would be this: learn the art of balanced trust, not blind trust, where you give everything too easily, and not total distrust, where you close yourself completely. Balanced trust is a middle path, but it is not weak. It is deeply intelligent. It begins with patience. Instead of immediately believing words, you observe patterns. Instead of reacting to one moment, you study consistency over time. Instead of assuming intentions, you allow behavior to reveal truth gradually. Balanced trust is also emotionally grounded. It understands that people are not static, they are complex. They have good days and difficult days. They are sometimes present and sometimes distracted. And not every inconsistency is a betrayal. This perspective removes unnecessary emotional suffering. But balanced trust also includes self respect. It knows when to step back. It knows when silence is healthier than confrontation. It knows when emotional distance is better than emotional confusion. Most importantly, it includes trust in oneself. Because at the core, the deepest form of security is not people will never hurt me. It is even if I am hurt, I will not lose myself. That inner confidence changes everything. With balanced trust, relationships become lighter, expectations reduce, judgments soften, emotional reactions become calmer. You begin to interact with people without pressure. You begin to love without fear. You begin to connect without dependency. And slowly, life feels less like a battlefield of expectations and more like a shared journey of imperfect human beings trying their best. Balanced trust does not make you naive, it makes you wise. It does not make you cold, it makes you clear. And clarity after 65 is one of the greatest forms of peace a human being can have. Because when trust is balanced, the heart is neither closed nor exposed, it is simply steady. And a steady heart is the foundation of a peaceful life.